Let's move on here to the offensive line, and we'll start with Bill Callahan, who is the, of course, father of Brian Callahan, the Titans head coach. He is the Titans offensive line coach now, and he was first asked about what it has been like being on the Tennessee Titans, being a part of his son's staff.
It's been a lot of fun. The transition to Nashville and to the Titans is it's interesting. This is a team that I felt I know pretty well. In my history, it's great to be here with Brian, my son, and this staff that Brian's put together. It's exciting. It's exciting time. So, yeah, everything's been very positive so far. We haven't played a game yet, so we're undefeated. Yeah, I think first off, the physicality is non-negotiable, and I think that's already in their DNA here. I've always felt that when excuse me, somebody's camera dropped. Okay, or their microphone. I think that the physicality of their play is always important, and that's kind of in the DNA, like I mentioned. So that part of playing hard, playing with tempo, being physical, has always been there, for these kids. And it's just a matter of tweaking techniques, giving them a couple different tools in terms of schemes, hands, things of that nature, just to try to build them up, build them a different toolbox.
What do you see?
Dadgummit, producer JT making fun of me from the shadows here. My mic was muted. I'm sorry. You heard that answer. Let me give you, this is Jeopardy style. Let me give you the question to what that answer was. He was just asked about what the message is. You've got these guys like Jalen Duncan and like Nicholas Petit-Frere and Sadiq Charles, who haven't quite met their potential in the NFL. In this room, a lot of young guys that you're being asked as the guru to come in and be the guy that gets the most out of them. Where do you start? You're in shoulder pad. You're not in shoulder pads or you're not padded up yet. You're wearing shorts and t-shirts. It's May. How do you begin your messaging? And that was his answer, primarily before somebody dropped their microphone, about the physicality. Okay, now that I got my mic turned on, thank you, Jordan. Thank you, JT, for not letting me go the rest of the show muted. This next question from him was regarding the Titans' first-round pick in J.C. Latham, moving him from right tackle to left tackle. He was asked simply, what makes you think he can do that? What makes you confident you can get that out of him? Not only does he give the reason for JC being able to do that, but he brings the receipts, baby. He lists 2 examples in his past as an offensive line coach where he has successfully done that we've heard, and then a third that I've not heard people talk about, but it exists nonetheless. So here's what he had to say on JC Latham going from right to left.
In terms of being able to... Yeah, I think, number one, his athleticism. And then, of course, all the measurable traits that he has. And then you add in size, power, strength. And it adds up, to making that move. Very similar in my experience at Dallas when I had Tyron Smith when I came into the Cowboys.
Heard that one.
He was a right tackle in college. He was a right tackle his rookie year, and we flipped him over. And I think that worked out pretty well. And then Jedrick Wills, when he was drafted out of Alabama for the Browns, was a right tackle in college. We flipped him. Another guy in my past was Barry Sims from the Raiders. He was a tackle out of Utah, who we found in the World League at that time, which no longer exists. But he ended up making that switch to left tackle as well. So I think if you have the athleticism, and you have strength, I think, and you have the muscle memory to, change some skill sets, I think it's doable.
Did you have a World League reference on your bingo card today? Because I did not. We're still talking about my mic being muted. Glory Day Sports saying if JT was there, that would never have happened. Well, guess what? JT couldn't be bothered to talk to you folks today. And I said, it's Thursday. We're talking to the folks. And JT's taking a day off from his day off. Apparently he's recovering from his Wednesday day off by taking a Thursday day off. So you can shove it, JT. Okay. So Bill Callahan, yeah. All the things we've said about JC Latham, the physicality, the muscle memory, the athleticism, Bill Callahan sees all of that and is confident he can do it. And again, 3 examples from his past of where he has successfully made this happen, one of which being a scary similar parallel in Jedrick Wills with the Browns, the most recent example of those 3, where he was a top 10 pick like JC Latham, the right tackle out of Alabama like JC Latham is, who they did in his first year, moved from right to left under the tutelage of Brian Callahan, and they did it successfully. So there's that. JT earned his day off. I don't know about that. Okay, this next question. JT, I love you. I'm sorry. I have to be mean to you because you're not here. You can defend yourself when you're back. The next question is about the right tackle candidates. And we're going to start with Brian Callahan, head coach of the team, not Bill, Brian. These guys that are in the room, right? You Nicholas Petit-Frere, Jalen Duncan, potentially a Sadiq Charles, Dylan Radens is a guy I haven't mentioned yet. What's the deal with them? What do you see in these guys? What makes you confident? I think the nature of this question was in particular, what makes you confident in these guys to the point of not having brought in another guy to play right tackle in this offseason so far? And here was his answer.
Yeah, I see young players that are ascending. I see young players that had a lot of room for improvement from last year. But I see guys that have traits and talent to be able to make a jump and make a transition and play good football. We're going to find our best five, however that looks, come September. But those two guys for sure have the ability and have the physical talent and traits to be able to be starting right tackles or tackles in this league. It was good to see them play some, because when you get to see guys play, you get to know where their weaknesses are and how to correct them. And I think that part has been fun to see those guys get better every day fundamentally. Again, we'll put the pads on come July, and then we'll let it rip and let those guys compete. But I think their competition, what they've done so far in their young careers, and then the ability to get better from now until we play, gives me some excitement that they got a chance to be good young ascending players for us.
Brian. Well,
the same question for Bill.
They're all here. They're all working hard. I think, to begin with in spring, when you're coming into a new system, new coaches, I'm just evaluating, assessing, trying to help these guys learn a whole new different toolbox than they're accustomed to. I think they're exceptional hard workers. That's great. That's a good start for us. But then how it plays out, I think we'll wait. I'll got to be a little bit more reserved on my judgment until we get into training camp and we get a chance to see them in the preseason when the live bullets start flying. But right now, it's all positive. The guys are working hard. They're learning some new sets, different angles, different strikes, things of that nature, that can help their game.
So Bill, a little bit more cards close to the vest there on his answer. With Brian, what stuck out to me was him constantly saying, hey, I say constantly, twice, saying, hey, these guys are, I see ascending young talents. I see guys with a lot of room for improvement. And, I think Titans fans, it's easy after a year or now 2 years in a row of having preseason hopes that were quickly dashed, quickly burned, your faith not rewarded in a guy like Dylan Radens and a guy like Nicholas Petit-Frere, not being jazzed about the rookie year that Jalen Duncan had. It's easy to swing too far the other way, right? If you were too high on them, now maybe you're too low because you're like, I'm not making that same mistake again. Now they've got to really prove it to me. And if we take that out of it and just try to be as fair and objective and clean slate with these guys as we possibly can, which I remind you, all these coaches are, save for a few, coming in, fresh eyes, fresh perspective, no preconceived notions on these guys. I think it's fair to say, hey, Dylan Radens, he was a second-round pick. He was a talented player in college. There's a reason why he was picked where he was, and he's got skills. He's just raw and an unbalanced player. And then with Nicholas Petit-Frere, a lot of the same. This guy there's been some off-field things that have kept him off the field, some injuries that have kept him off the field. And it's largely been so hit or miss, you just can't put any faith in those guys. But with Bill Callahan in the building, with this new regime, having a full offseason to try to mold them and build them up and set them up for success, I think there's reason to believe, hey, between those two guys and throwing a Jalen Duncan in there, maybe throwing a Sadiq Charles in there, we'll figure out somebody that can play serviceable tackle for us on the right-hand side. And with JC Latham locking it down on the left, you have one really good tackle. You have, and this is on paper, again, the rookie season for a tackle can go poorly, so it's going to be up and down for JC. But on paper, a really strong tackle on the left side, a fine tackle on the right side. You can work with that in the NFL. That's the idea, and I think that is not wishful thinking on their part as much as it is just a reasonable place to be, given the assets they had at their disposal and the situation they find themselves in. This last offensive line topic, an answer from Bill Callahan, a really fascinating one. He went in a different direction with this answer than I thought he would. Bill, asked about Lloyd Cushenberry, the Titan center, who they signed in free agency away from the Broncos. Bill seemed very fond of Lloyd already, is excited to have him in the building, and gave an insightful answer as to what motivates this guy.
Yeah, it's great to have Lloyd here. The thing that strikes me about Lloyd is, he's a guy who could have gone anywhere, and of course, I'm happy that he got paid, and deservingly so. But he wanted to be with a team that can improve his game, and he wants to be great. And that really struck me, that the game goes deeper than the wallet for him, and he has a tremendous passion, curiosity, and intellect that goes beyond anything. So he's great for our room, super for the team in terms of running the show up front, and he has a dynamic presence about him, that'll, obviously help all the younger players come along in time.
Help me out on this timeline. Who was on the team first? Bill or Cushenberry? Bill was around, right? Because the way maybe I have it mixed, but I want to say he was around, and the way he talks about him there makes it sound like he's somebody that he had in Cleveland was an admirer of, and he came to Tennessee and started pounding the table and said, we need to bring this guy in. So I really like what this kid has, and I think he can be great, and he wants to be. I mean, that was as glowing a profile on any player I heard today and have heard in a long, long time. Derek saying, yeah, Cushenberry came after Big Coach was in the building. So that to me seems like the Cushenberry acquisition, the hiring of him, paying him the money that they did was at least as recommended by Bill Callahan, which is not a bad recommendation to take into account if you're Rand Carthon. So JT saying Bill joined during the Senior Bowl. Okay, so that would track then, I think, because I think Lloyd came after that. I don't know. Somebody fact check that. Maybe what I just said is a total bunk, but I think that's the case. No matter what, whether it was before or after, Bill Callahan has a very high opinion of Lloyd Cushenberry, and I think that should excite fans.